Welcome back to the deep dive. We are going straight to the source material today. Really focused, really specific, and honestly, pretty painful analysis ahead. Our mission dives deep into the recent demo release for Huntsman. This was meant to be a big step forward, right? But what actually happened was this wave of disappointment, and even, as one source put it, disgust from users who felt like they got dragged backward into some unrecognizable version of the game.
That's exactly it. The demo dropped October 12th, and bam, the reactions were immediate and really polarized. So to figure out why this update failed so badly, we're looking at two keys. We've got a detailed critical text review and also a play-by-play transcript from a live gameplay stream. We're trying to pinpoint exactly what decisions, structurally, mechanically turned this potential 5-star game into, well, a 2-star reality, according to the reviewer.
Right. And for you listening, maybe you're thinking about playing this or just catching up on the drama. The core problem is bridging this huge knowledge gap. There's this massive conflict, see, between the marketing stuff, the polished pictures, the Steam trailer, and what people actually played in the demo. They seem like two different worlds, fundamentally different in location, structure.
Everything.
Exactly. That gap, that's where all the tension is coming from. You see this slick promise, and then you get this using mess. And the reviewer, clearly someone who's followed the game, they gave it a harsh 2 out of 5. But here's the kicker, the sort of tragic part. They still think the game has 5-star potential and it's a big if the developers just stuck to the visual style, the gameplay for the previous demo, just with the better graphics they promised. They wanted an upgrade, not a complete teardown.
Okay, let's unpack that. This structural fail. It seems like the biggest sense of betrayal starts with the setting itself. The environment really wasn't supposed to be a whole new place, was it? No, not at all. It feels like a shocking pivot. The expectation was crystal clear. The reviewer literally said the game should look exactly like the last version of the demo, only with improved graphics, as shown on. They weren't asking for new levels or radical gameplay shifts. Polish on what they already knew.
And here's where it gets, well, really telling, the reality. The new location is clearly not similar at all. That immediately tells the player, hold on, this isn't the Huntsman I know, just better looking. It feels like maybe it's a different game entirely using the same name. And in a game like this, survival horror puzzle games, your map knowledge is key, right? It's your guide, your defense sometimes. Take that away and players are just lost, paralyzed.
Precisely. And the first sign of that damage is just immediate disorientation. When you look at the specifics of the environment changes, it's clear they abandoned the old setting. There was like one positive note in the text review about the new place, just that you could start in the parking lot now instead of the character's office like before.
Okay, so a tiny quality of life thing.
Yeah, minor. And totally overshadowed by the massive confusion inside the...
Right. The moment they step out of that parking lot, it all falls apart. The sources mention these new internal areas with no context, no connection to what people knew about Huntsman. The review calls out this added room, sounds like a home theater, and another one just labeled maintenance.
Yeah, and those names, or the way the reviewer refers to them, it's telling. When a player who knows the game calls areas home theater or whatever they call it, or maintenance, whatever that is, it screams lack of clarity. Like, these places aren't explained. They don't seem to serve a clear purpose. Are they labeled? Do they fit the story? Apparently not. So they just become these confusing dead ends, not, meaningful additions.
And the live video player, their transcript shows this disorientation immediately. They were surprised. They said they seemed to be on the second floor or maybe a cafeteria.
Yeah.
Think about that. You're expecting what? Tense, dark offices, maybe labs, and you end up in a cafeteria. It just breaks the whole mood, disrupts the visual language the previous versions established.
It really does. And it loops back to that core question the text reviewer kept asking. Why can't it just be the same place as before, just with the better graphic? It makes you think the original environment wasn't just window dressed. It was probably designed specifically for the old puzzles, the old mechanics, the ones players liked.
So first failure, the environment, swapping out a known working space for confusing, context-free room. And because the sources keep hitting that marketing mismatch, you have to wonder if the developers didn't just change the look, but the whole scope. Maybe they went from a tight, focused horror thing to something bigger, more sprawling, but less defined.
It's a risky pivot, especially this late. If the game's identity was tied to that original office setting, moving it to a generic cafeteria or maintenance room, you risk losing the players who liked that specific kind of tension, that claustrophobia. The reviewer's deep frustration comes through when they say they hope this current demo environment is just a temporary design. They're desperately hoping the devs haven't actually committed to this confusing new layout.
Okay, so the architecture's a letdown. Let's shift to the core gameplay loop. Because even if you somehow figure out where you are, the mechanics themselves seem, well, broken. Or at least redesigned in ways that just frustrate people, hinder them, demoralize them.
Yeah, absolutely. Section 2 gets into that moment-to-moment experience. And it starts with something incredibly basic that both sources flag.
The flashlight. It's like the perfect symbol for this whole demo, isn't it? It's supposed to be your lifeline in the dark, your way to interact. And it failed on 2 levels. The text review just says flat out, the flashlight doesn't spread enough light. Makes it almost impossible to see small, crucial things. Key cards, notes, whatever you need.
And the live player. Their struggle started even before that. Forget bad illumination. They couldn't even find the thing easily. They literally said, I simply don't know where the flashlight is. Took ages just to locate this basic tool. And then, once they got it, the text review confirms.
Yeah.
Basically use. In a horror game, bad lighting is an atmosphere if it stops you playing. It just becomes a frustrating pixel hunt in the dark. Not suspense, just annoyance.
Exactly. And that leads straight into the puzzles, which, from the descriptions, sound completely disconnected from any kind of survival horror logic. Let's start with how you trigger the main enemy, the spider row, right?
A spider trigger. It's bizarre. The reviewer really disliked it. Apparently you have to throw a basketball everywhere in the office to wake it up.
A basketball?
Yeah. Not exactly, a tense, story-driven puzzle. It sounds like just randomly chucking an object around, hoping something happens. In a dark, unfamiliar room, relying on physics interaction. It just seems arbitrary, frustrating. It completely breaks the genre convention where triggers are usually noise or getting too close or interacting with some specific and logical.
Throwing a basketball to wake up a giant, scary spider. Okay, that pulls you right out, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Then contrast that with this electricity constraint puzzle, which sounds like it just adds complexity for complexity's sake. The reviewer was totally confused. You have to turn on 2 switches at the same time to remove iron walls. And the reason is limited electricity, so you can't turn on other. The reviewer just asks, plain and simple, why is that necessary?
It really sounds like artificial difficulty. If you need simultaneous activations, that mean you have to sprint between them? Is it hinting at co-op, maybe? But none of that's clear. And the limited power thing, it just feels like the devs swapped out a potentially clever environmental puzzle for a simple on-off that doesn't sound like it adds meaningful challenge. Slows you down.
But maybe the biggest hit to the actual gameplay, the deepest wound here, seems to be the complete removal of those strategic items, the things that defined how you played the older versions.
Yes, this is absolutely crucial. This is why the core loop feels broken to these players. In the earlier demos, the game was about finding and using specific, unique materials, not just keys, but materials. Sources list exactly what's gone missing now. Salt, hydrogen peroxide, react, and bleach.
Okay, let's think about losing salt, bleach. In horror games, those often have specific uses, right? Warding off certain things, maybe cleaning something, creating barriers.
Exactly. Salt, for instance, often implies defense. Maybe you could use it to create safe zones or ward off the spider temporarily. Losing that removes...
And a reactive agent. That sounds like chemistry puzzle. Complex interactions needed to progress.
For sure. So by ditching these unique, context-rich items and replacing them with, generic switches and a basketball, the game basically changes its identity. It goes from being potentially a smart resource management horror game to just another dark maze where you bump into walls and trigger random things.
It changes what you, the player, are trying to... Instead of surviving using chemistry or clever defenses, your goal becomes, okay, which random thing do I need to throw or flip in this confusing room?
And amidst all this missing stuff, the sources tell us the only 2 things the player successfully added to their inventory in the new demo: practically useless flash and a page related to the home tunnel.
The home tunnel. We need to...
Definitely. Because look at that shift. From physical, usable items, salt, bleach, to a cryptic piece of paper about a home tunnel. It signals a huge change in gameplay, away from immediate survival strategy towards your narrative maybe.
Which makes the whole failure even worse. You're not just lost and the puzzles are weird. You've also had your known tools taken away, and all you get back is a bad flashlight and 1 cryptic note.
Yeah, it's a complete loss of functional context. The game's unique elements seem to have been stripped out, replaced by frustrating cliches.
All right, let's pivot now. Let's look at the human cost, the emotional side of this. We're digging into the translated video transcript now. This shows a first-time player struggling emotionally and practically with this demo.
Yeah, and this section really captures that fast slide from high hopes down to just total demoralization. Player went in thinking it would look excellent, great. They clearly bought the hype, the marketing. So that positive starting point, that anticipation, makes the failures hit even harder.
And the problem started immediately, like fundamentally. Long loading times, just technical friction right off the bat. Then basic control. Struggling with the F button, a standard interaction key.
In a horror game, where quick interaction might be crucial, fumbling with basic keys like F just ramps up frustration instantly. It pulls you right out of the game into fighting the interface. And then they couldn't even get in. The front entrance was locked. The back entrance, also inaccessible at first. You can feel the player's confusion in the transcript. What is the point of the demo if you can't even enter?
That's just demo design 101 failure, isn't it? If you can't even start the core gameplay loop smoothly, the player feels powerless before anything scary even happens. They go straight from excited to annoyed.
And when the creature, the spider, finally showed up, the player called it disgusting. Okay, so the basic revulsion worked, but then Almost immediately, they started critiquing its behavior, not just being scared, but analyzing its flaws.
Yeah, the movement was weird. The player noted they didn't need to be close for it to move, called it odd. And he saw it moving strangely on a wall near a door, plus that terrifying bit where they heard it directly right above.
See, that combination weird movement, maybe clipping through walls, plus close sound but no clear visual, it creates confusion, not just clean fear. The threat doesn't feel entirely real or predictable if glitching or moving illogic.
And that disgust even turned into technical feedback about the monster itself. The player specifically mentioned hoping the developers would fix the creature's leg. If your main antagonist, the scary centerpiece, has visibly unfinished or janky parts like its legs that screams incomplete, it's a massive red flag in a demo that's supposed to convince you to buy the full game.
And all these frustrations, bad light, weird puzzles, janky monster, can't even get in properly. It all built up. It led to the player just giving up. They said multiple times they were going to quit halfway through.
Yeah, those direct quotes are brutal. They're the ultimate review. Really, first, I'm going to stop playing this game halfway because I don't have the strength. And shortly after, again, I'm going to stop the game halfway because I don't have the strength. I don't want to play this thing anymore.
That repetition, it shows real, not just boredom, but like the game wore them down. They weren't just frustrated, they were drained. And the final decision, sorry about that, that's the demo failing its one job.
Yeah.
The player playing. The design actually pushes her away.
And when the video player talked about why they liked the older version better, they gave a really key insight. They said the previous version had things they could read, which suggests what? Clearer instructions, environmental clues, story notes that actually made sense, stuff that made the game playable, understandable. This new version apparently lacks that completely.
That's a perfect link, isn't it? Between the environment and the mechanic. Take away the useful items like salt and bleach. Take away the clear instructions, the things to read. Replace them with a dark, confusing maze and arbitrary puzzles. What's left? You've removed all the player's agency, all the clarity. They're just guessing in the dark. No wonder they quit.
So it really feels like the core issue was this trade-off. The devs swapped out a known working structure map, puzzles, items for something confusing, frustrating, arguably just worse. And they didn't even deliver the one thing they promised, the graphical upgrade on the known structure.
Okay, let's bring it all together now. For the scorecard, how did all this lead to that definitive 2-star rating from the review? Well, the list of complaints is pretty damning when you put it all. Environment. Unrecognizable. Doesn't fit the mood. Atmosphere. Too dark to actually play properly. Can't find items. Mechanics. Arbitrary. That basketball trigger. The weird synchronized switches. Just why?
And the reviewer's final comment is just the perfect summary of the missed opportunity.
Right.
They said flat out, this demo rates 2 stars out of 5. If the game were like the marketing images and the gameplay I know, just with better graphics, it would be a perfect 5-star game. They saw the potential for a masterpiece based on what came before. And they got this confusing, seemingly early build.
That quote says it all, really. And the video player backs it up. They saw the promo stuff, recognized the game they knew but looking better, and then played something. This isn't just players being picky. It points disconnect. Like, marketing was selling the polished old game, while the dev team delivered this newsing, unpolished thing.
So the verdict is unanimous across both. They want the previous version back, the one right before this demo. They just wanted those promised visual upgrades applied to the game they already knew and liked. It was supposed to be a facelift, right? Not a full identity swap.
Yeah, the original design obviously had something going for it. It relied on those strategic items, the salt, the reactive agent. It had a map people understood. This new demo tried to add complexity maybe, but did it through annoying physics puzzles and weird electrical gates. And the result was so frustrating the streamer just couldn't take it, couldn't even finish half.
So this deep dive really shows how much friction was created by abandoning a working formula, a known location, for this new environment that's confusing, dark, and full of frustrating, seemingly pointless new puzzle. The lesson here for developers seems pretty stark, doesn't it? Don't market a visual upgrade and then deliver a completely different structure unless you are absolutely sure that new structure is way, way better than what people were already invested in.
Right. And maybe to leave you, the listener, with something to chew on. Let's go back to that one tiny clue the player did find. That page related to the home tunnel.
We know the text review mentioned this home tunnel as an unknown place. Now think about it. The player is stuck in this weird new place, cafeteria, second floor, whatever, confused, lost.
Yeah.
What if the point is to struggle through this mess to find the home tunnel?
You mean, like the tunnel is a secret passage. It justifies the confusing journey because it leads. Yeah. Where? Back to the original office, maybe. But now rendered with those promised 5-star graphics. Could be. It's pure speculation. But it's the only narrative thread left hanging in these sources that might possibly link this mess back to the game everyone actually wants. Yeah. But if that is the design, then the failure was starting the player so far away, making the initial experience so negative that they quit long before finding. The confusion and frustration were just too high a barrier to entry. They didn't have the strength, as the player said, to push through to potentially find that connection. It's the only hint of a bridge back preferred, a bridge that seems currently out.
Something to definitely think about. We'll have to see if the developers listen to this outcry, this plea for the previous version. Thanks for diving deep with us today.